everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Alright, here is my realistic deer skull mask made out of cardboard. I think I can make something really neat out of cardboard, and I decided to make a deer skull. At first it was going to be a half mask without the upper portion, but that didn't look as good, so I decided to add, the eyes and the antlers and the head. I didn't do a lot of recording for the process of this. I wanted to, but I just couldn't, because I have nothing to hold my phone. I did trim it after that. Here's me when I started the antlers. I just kind of rolled cardboard together and glued shapes to it, and here it is all put together. I think it looks pretty neat. This angle is, not very nice, a little awkward, but here it is on. It's a pretty neat deer skull mask. Do you like cool masks like these? Well, now I have a step-by-step video for how to make this exact cardboard mask on my YouTube channel. It is a full-length video. I go through all the details, the entire process. You can make something that looks super cool. So if you could check it out, that would mean a lot to me. Hello everybody, here is the long-awaited tutorial for how to make a fox cardboard mask. This tutorial is for Therians and anyone who would like to make masks. So as for supplies, you're going to need some cardboard, a marker or something to write with, some scissors or an X-Acto knife, some elastic, thread, shoelaces, something to tie it to the back of the mask, and a hot glue gun. So the first step is to draw this shape onto cardboard and cut it out as so. I'd help to curve it to the face like I did there. Next, compare it to some cardboard and cut out a length that looks about long enough for a snout. Then, cut a diagonal line so that the snout points downwards. Make 2 of them, glue them together at the tip. Once they're glued, bend them so that they curve inward to make the cone shape of the snout. Glue that to the mask. Next, cut out a kind of a triangle shape to put over the top of the snout. Next, trace the inside of the cheek like this, and create this kind of fox-shaped outline. Cut along the dashed line. Once you have that out, cut another one. Put them on each side, and there's your nice fox fluff. Next, you're going to want to trace the top of the head and the insides of the eyes. These are going to create some details for the face. Once you cut them out, and you can trim them to fit as you like, glue them to the face like this. Next, add some tiny little ovals right to the corner to create little eyebrows. Next, trace the top of the head and draw 2 little ears. Leave some extra space on the bottom below the line so that you can glue it to the back of the mask. Cut out those shapes again and create the inner ears. Next, you're going to create a T shape to create the nose of the mask, and once that's all glued, you have yourself your mask. The last step is to poke 2 holes, one on either side of the mask. I use a pen for this. Take your elastic or thread or whatever you're using to hold it onto your mask and tie it through and make a knot. Do that on either side and you have yourself a completed Fox Therian mask. Light is on the way, we'll be having a fun time. It's such a lovely day, we should pocket the sunshine and never give it back. Even if there's a heat wave, we're stalling on the track. It will just be a close shave, I know. Make a cardboard cat mask like this one? Well, I have good news for you. I have just posted a full-length step-by-step tutorial over on my YouTube for how to make this cardboard cat mask. Now, these masks are for Therians, otherkin, people who just like making masks. These are for everybody. So if you like fun activities and have a bit of extra cardboard lying around, make one of these. Personally, I think this is my favorite design of the 3 cat masks I've made for tutorials, and it's super easy and simple, so make one yourself. Head over to YouTube, BirdyDogs on YouTube. Hello everybody, after many requests to make a lion mask tutorial, here it is. Now this tutorial gets a little more complicated than my previous tutorials, but if you've made my other masks, this one shouldn't be too difficult. For supplies, you're going to need some cardboard or EVA foam, some scissors, a pen and a marker, something to write with, some kind of elastic, thread, yarn, something to hold your mask together, and a hot glue gun. First, you're going to cut out this familiar shape out of cardboard or EVA foam, and then curve it so it fits your face. Next, you're going to cut out this piece for the snout. You're going to want to cut a straight line at an angle so that the snout sits a little bit lower, and you're going to want 2 of them. Curve each piece in towards its center, and 1 in each direction, so you have them going in opposite ways. Glue them together like this. This is where things get a bit more complicated. You're going to want to cut along these 2 lines that I've drawn out, and then fold the front part over the back and glue it in place. This will create a curved shape for your snout that's more feline-like. Once you get it glued, it should look like this. Here it is attached. The next step is to cut a rectangle with a pointed tip and bend it so that you can create the snout and the nose. Glue that on, and then trace the inside of the eye. This is where things get a bit more complicated. You're going to want to draw kind of a zigzag shape like this, one on the outside, one on the inside. You're going to cut out this piece, and then cut along the curved line. You should have 2 pieces that look like this. Take the inside piece, and trace it so that it's spiked on both sides. This is going to create 2 layers. Trace them so you have 2 of each piece, and line them up like so. This is going to create the front of the mane. I'd recommend gluing the front pieces first, and then gluing the ones behind it. Here they are all attached. Next, you're going to trace the top of your mask and draw 2 ears. Draw a little bit extra beneath it, and cut that out as well, so that you have an area to glue to the back of your mask. Attach them to the mask, and then that little part in the middle, you're going to want to leave so that you can draw the top of the mane. You're going to want to create this kind of shape. Ignore the line in the middle, you won't need it. Cut that out, flip it over, and glue it to the front of your mask. This will create the forehead mane. Next, take a pen or a pencil and poke 2 holes in one hole in either side. Tie a knot on your elastic and run it through, and do the same on the other side, and you have yourself a finished lion mask. Hello everybody, here is a tutorial for how to make a canine snout on a cat mask base. As for supplies, you'll need 1 cat mask base, you'll need a couple sheets of cardboard, some scissors, and a hot glue gun. So first, trace along the snout like this. You will cut this portion out of the mask. Once it's cut, it should look like this. Next, trace this shape onto some cardboard. You're going to want to cut it out and then draw a diagonal line so that it points downwards. Cut that out and make 2 of them. Once that's done, curve both of them inward in opposite directions and glue them together at the tip. This should create something that looks like this. Next, along this edge, you're going to want to glue onto the mask. It's a little chewed up because I had to take a previous one off. This is what it'll look like. Once you do that to the other side, it'll look like this. This is where it gets a bit complicated. You're going to want to make these slices in both sides of the mask, going in directions towards each other. So what you're going to want to do next is on these lower 2 slices, put some glue on the section towards the mask. Glue the other flap over it, and you get something like this. Next, you're going to want to do the same thing on the top. Along this seam is where you should fold the cardboard over itself. You're going to glue this side to that side over the flap. There should be like a bit of a seam where you overlap it. You have to do a bit of folding. Do that to the other side, and you have a bit of a curved snout. Next, you're going to want to take a rectangle of cardboard like this and cut the tip so it's more triangular, as well as folding the sides. You're going to glue this to the top of the snout. There should be a bit of an overhang at the tip, and I like to cut these divots so it lays flat. Once you glue that portion down, you have finished your wolf snout on a cat mask base. Good morning everybody, I just made a bird mask, and here is how you can make one of your own. It is a bird of indeterminate species, but it still works, so here is how you make it. First, you're going to need some supplies. You're going to need some cardboard, marker, pen, something to write with, some scissors, a hot glue gun, and some kind of elastic or string or yarn or something to hold the mask together. First, you're going to draw this shape. It's a classic shape that I use for all my masks. You're going to cut it out and curve it towards your face. Next, you're going to cut out a nice big old triangle. And if it's too long, you might want to trim it down, because mine was too long, so I trimmed it down a bit and slightly curved the top. Once you slightly curve the top, trace it again right here and flip it and make one more piece. You're going to cut those bad boys out and curve them in towards each other. Now curve them in opposite directions so you have one for each side. So this one's curved left, the other one curved right, something like that. Now you're going to glue along the top edge of both of these pieces. This will create your beak, and it'll look something like this once it is glued. Alright, the next step is to glue it to the mask. Now to glue it to the mask, you're going to want to hold the back of the mask so that it stays curved, because it will only really stay if you curve it. So there it is attached. Next, you're going to cut out this kind of curved piece and glue it right to the top to make a little more detail to your beak. After that, you're going to want to trace the inside of the eye and the cheek to create kind of a template for your feather pattern. Now I curved along this edge from the eye to the corner and curved around in 3 kind of feather shapes. I cut that out, then I flipped it around and I traced it onto cardboard. This will create the side on the other side. So now you got 2 of them, and you glue those in place and you got some nice fluffy little feathers. There they are attached. And for the final step of the detail of the mask, you're going to want to trace the insides of the eye and the top of the head like this. Create your guide to create this kind of clover or paw print shape. And you're going to want to cut that out and create the nice little feathers above the nose. And there you are. There's your crow, bird kind of mask of indeterminate species. Last step is to poke some holes using a pencil or a pen into either side of the mask. There you are, 2 holes, and once you have the holes, you're going to tie a knot through your string or elastic and attach it to the mask. Do the same thing to the other side, and you are done. And there is a nice, lovely avian mask. Hope you enjoy.